What is going down, Niner Empire YouTube? It is your boy Danny G TV here in the house. It's been a little over a week since the Niners tragically fell to the Rams 20-17 in the NFC Championship game. Of course, I was at that game in LA at SoFi Stadium, and I'm going to get into my experience being there at the end of this video. But first things first, let's just recap the 2021-2022 San Francisco 49ers season real quickly. Now, it all starts, we basically can start it around 11 months ago in March of 2021. The Niners make a trade with the Miami Dolphins, and they end up going from the 12 overall pick to the number 3 overall pick. And they draft none other than Trey Lance, the future, Jimmy Garoppolo's intended eventual replacement, but the plan all along was for Jimmy Garoppolo to still be the starter for the 2021-2022 season, and Trey Lance to be the backup. But the plan was for Trey Lance to, of course, eventually be the starter, and also the plan was that if Jimmy somehow does not get off to a good start, starts to struggle, gets injured, of course, whatever, that Trey Lance would, of course, be the starting quarterback. So week 1, the Niners play the Lions, and Kyle Shanahan actually does something very cool that he did in the preseason as well. He decides to use both quarterbacks, and both quarterbacks played well. Jimmy played well, Trey played well. Trey got his first touchdown and pass in that game as well, and it put a lot of teams off guard. They're like, what? Because a lot of teams just had no answer to stop two quarterbacks that just have a completely different style of play. Now, the Niners, of course, got that win against the Lions. However, the Lions almost came back, and they made it pretty damn interesting. But the Niners, hold on, they get the win. They start off 1-0. But then it's announced the next day that Raheem Mostert is out. And it was initially ruled that he'd be injured, that he'd be out for eight weeks. That was what it was going to be, I believe, at first. But then about the next day or so, it was revealed that he's going to be out. He's going to require season-ending surgery. So already, that's a big blow. When Raheem Mostert, a running back as explosive as he is, with the speed that he has, the agility that he has, and just an absolute dominant force on the Niners running game, it's a big blow to the running game and to the Niners offense to lose him for the whole year that quickly. But, of course, Elijah Mitchell, though, the rookie Elijah Mitchell stepped up, and he had a phenomenal year. And, of course, Deebo Samuel is also used a lot as a running back, and he proved to be unstoppable. So I'm hoping that we are able to re-sign Raheem Mostert. I know he has had trouble with injury in the past as well. Last year was the first year he was out for most of the year, but he's had injury problems before. So there's some fans that don't even want him back. I'd be like, I want Raheem Mostert back, because if we get Elijah Mitchell and Raheem Mostert in that backfield next year, and we have Deebo occasionally running plays out of the backfield as well, Deebo will probably see him more in the role of just a wide receiver next season, but I will definitely get some reps in the backfield. But that'll be absolutely explosive and unstoppable if we have Raheem Mostert, Elijah Mitchell, and Deebo Samuel in that backfield next year. That's just going to be unstoppable. So the Niners actually start off 2-0. They beat the Eagles, but then they go on a 4-game losing streak. And then that 4-game losing streak, just everyone's like, what is going on? 2020, that was a shit show of a year, not just for the entire world, but for the Niners with all the injuries they had. But 2021, we're supposed to be competing for a division title. What are we doing? We're supposed to be trying to go back to the Super Bowl, and then we have a 4-game losing streak. Now, the game that was the most ridiculous in that 4-game losing streak was the game against the Colts, where Jimmy just did not look good at all. And it was, of course, revealed later that he may have been suffering an injury, because he just looked completely lost out there. And, of course, poetically enough, the last play of that game was him being stacked by DeForest Buckner, who was arguably the best defensive player in that 2019-2020 run, and they end up trading him to the Colts to save money, because his contract was pretty big. But so they beat the Bears, actually, which is Jimmy's homecoming game, and he actually plays his best game, of course, in a while, and now everyone's like, okay, well, Jimmy might be back. But where the season just absolutely turned around, it is ironic that they end up, of course, being eliminated by the same team, is the Rams game, Week 8, the Monday Night Football game against the Rams at Levi's. The Niners just got an absolutely surprising, dominant win against a team that got off to a great start and a team that was looking like they were going to tear up the whole division with Matthew Stafford looking good at quarterback. And of course, they had just recently signed Odell Beckham as well. But the Niners get the upset win on Monday night, and that was just a big momentum swing. That pretty much changed the whole season right there. Like, when you got that win, you're like, oh, this season might not be over. And it sure was not. So that's chapter 1 of 3 chapters of the Niners and Rams in the 2021-2022 season. Now, I'm going to skip all the way ahead to the second chapter, but before I get into that, let's see, that would be week 16. Right before, a couple days before Christmas, on December 23rd, the Niners are in Tennessee, in Nashville, Tennessee, playing the Tennessee Titans. And they get off to a good start. Their defense plays pretty damn well, but Jimmy just looks absolutely lost, just looks terrible, and just does not get anything going. And a bunch of us on Twitter, including me, we're just absolutely screaming, take him out. Take out Jimmy, put in Trey. You drafted Trey for a reason. It's December of his rookie year. Jimmy looks awful. We need to see what Trey can do. So, and I still, to this day, I think Kyle Shanahan made a mistake by not allowing Trey to come in that game. And I'm not saying that he should have been the starter for the remainder of the year. Like, Jimmy definitely should have still been the starter when he was healthy, but it was revealed, of course, that he was battling a thumb injury, and Trey ended up starting the Texans game. But what I don't get is how Kyle Shanahan does not realize that Jimmy's injured and he should not be playing. And besides that, like, regardless of injury or not, like, Jimmy should have been pulled just for poor play in general, especially when you give up so much for Trey Lance. But Trey ends up starting the Texans game. The first game that Trey actually started this year was the first game here in Arizona against the Cardinals, which I was at. So I got to see Trey's first start. The Niners did not win that game, but Trey actually looked pretty damn good. He's incredibly mobile. He's able to handle pressure in the pocket a lot better than Jimmy, of course. In the Texan game, though, week 17, he does not look that good in the first half, but the second half he turns it around. The Niners, of course, get the win against the Texans. So it's week 18. It's chapter 2 of 3 between the Niners and the Rams in 2021-2022 season. And they're traveling to L.A., where they're lucky to find a sea of red, an absolute dominant crowd on the road by the Niners. But they go down 17-0. Things do not look good. I'm screaming I'm like, take him out. Take Jimmy out. What are you doing, Kyle? But he bounces back. He has a decent game. He does what he needs to do to win. The Niners are able to go to overtime, and they get the win on the game-winning interception by Ambry Thomas. Debo had an incredible game. He even threw a touchdown pass to Juwan Jennings in that game. Oh, that was amazing. But so the Niners are in the playoffs. They go 10-7 in the regular season. And their first playoff game is on the road against their bitter rival of all time, a team that hasn't necessarily been their rival in the last decade or two decades, you could even say. But historically, the Cowboys are probably the Niners' biggest rival. So they go into Dallas, and what do? They get the win. They seem to be dominating in the first half. The fourth quarter, Jimmy throws an interception that could have cost them the game, which he also did, by the way, in the Week 18 game. So that's 2 games in a row he throws an interception. But the Niners are able to bounce back. They get the win in spite of Jimmy's mistakes. And they go on the road to Lambeau Field to take on the number 1 seed Green Bay Packers in a game that everyone is just saying, hey, there's no way. The Niners had a good run, but there's absolutely no way they're going to come into Green Bay and beat the number 1 seeded Packers with Aaron Rodgers. And it doesn't look good at first, actually. The Packers score in their first drive. Aaron Rodgers looks great. Devontae Adams looks like he's going to have like his best career game against us because he was off to a very hot start. But after that first drive, the Niners were able to stop the Packers. The Niners defense played incredibly lights out. Eric Armstead was on fire. Nick Bosa had a couple sacks. The defense just was dominating Aaron Rodgers, but the offense just could not do anything. Before halftime, Jimmy throws an interception, and in this interception, which I'm going to get into a little bit at the end of this video as well, but in this interception, now he's being pressured, and he has room to just run it out of bounds, just run it, or to throw it away. But what does he do? He throws it to nowhere, and he throws it downfield, and it gets picked off by the Packers. So that's 3 games in a row now that Jimmy's had an interception, which, and Jimmy's able to bounce back good when he throws an interception. Usually, you're able to see, the best of him afterwards. But the Niners do not score an offensive or defensive touchdown. But then they get a break. The Packers punt, and then Jordan Willis blocks the punt, and then the ball is on the ground, and then Talua Hufanga picks it up and runs it in for the touchdown. And then the Niners are able to hold off the Packers. They're able to get into field goal range, and they're able to kick a game-winning field goal, and they get the win. And they go to the NFC Championship game, and then, of course, the Rams beat Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Niners find themselves going back to LA back to Levi's South, which is another name for SoFi Stadium, because in Week 18, the Niners crowd absolutely dominated, and the Rams, they get scared about that, so they try to restrict ticket sales from anybody who is not an LA resident, and not an LA County resident, not a resident of any zip code in the LA area. They tried to prevent anyone outside of LA from attending that game. Of course, they reversed that policy because it was ridiculous, and it sure backfired against them. So I traveled to LA, of course, to go to the game. I had a great trip in LA. I fly out on Friday on Southwest to Sky Harbor to LAX, and shout out to my friend Steve, who I met on YouTube actually 12 years ago. Steve from the Bay Area. We went to the game. Shout out to him. We had standing room only. We had a standing room only section. It is just amazing. SoFi Stadium is just absolutely incredible. I definitely would like to touch on my SoFi experience. It's arguably the best stadium in the NFL. It just was an incredible place to be. The Niners had a lot of fans, of course. The one section that we were in seemed like it did have more Rams fans. The one section we were standing in, but if you watched the game on TV, it looked like you saw more red. So it was about even, I would say. But one thing I will get into is a lot of people were talking about the Rams pumping crowd noise. I honestly think they did, because there was about, I would say, the equal number of fans for both teams. It was loud when the Rams were on offense and the Niners were on defense, like you would expect, and it was loud, of course, when the Niners were on offense and the Rams were on defense, because the Rams are the home team. But it was a lot louder, and you'd be like, well, of course, that makes sense. It's their home stadium, right? But with all the Niner fans being there, I don't think it makes sense that it was that much louder when the Niners were on offense than it was when the Rams were on offense. It should have been just as loud. The noise level should have been the same. So I think they probably did pump in some crowd noise. But that's beside the point. So the game, oh, and by the way, before the game, we're in the stadium an hour early. So as you can see here, the Bengals, of course, upset the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. And everybody in the stadium, and I'll let you listen to this right here. Everybody in the stadium is cheering because they do not want to face Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. So everyone was happy that the Bengals were able to get that win. And of course, as a Niner fan, I'm like, oh, hey, this will be perfect. We get to play the Bengals for the third time in the Super Bowl, because of course the Niners with Joe Montana beat the Bengals twice in the Super Bowl. So the game starts off as a scoreless first quarter. The Rams get the first touchdown, Matthew Stafford to Cooper Kupp. Then the Niners bounce back. Jimmy throws a pass to Deebo Samuel, and Deebo runs it in to the end zone for the touchdown, and Levi South absolutely erupts. The Niners end up going up 10-7 at halftime with a Robbie Gould field goal, and we get a good show of the Chainsmokers for halftime. Incredible show. Hey, and I'm confident the Niners have the lead. It looks like they're about to go to the Super Bowl, but I'm just like, we got to finish this off. Let's go. So the Niners end up at the end of the third quarter when it's 10-7. Jimmy throws a touchdown pass to George Kittle. So that makes it 17-7, and things are looking bright. The Niners got the 10-point lead. Things could not look brighter. But then, of course, the Rams come back. Stafford throws a touchdown pass to Cooper Kupp, and that cuts the lead 17-14. By the way, Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham absolutely, we had no answer for them at all. Like, you can have one of them going off, but you cannot have both Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham both going off on you. This is the best game I've seen Odell play since he's signed with the Rams. We absolutely had no answer for him. Our defense played great, but we absolutely had no answer for both Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham. So it's 17-14, and Matthew Stafford throws a pass, and it goes off of the hands of Jaquiski Tartt. He almost catches it. It's in his hands, but he drops it, and we're all just like, oh. Everyone's standing, like all the Niner fans in my section standing, my friend Steve and everyone in our little section, we're just like, oh. We almost, man, that would have been game pretty much right there. Which, of course, there was still plenty of time left. The Rams could have still won it. We could have turned it over the next play. But as far as momentum goes, there is a good chance that if Jaquiski Tartt catches that interception, that the game just pretty much ends right there. It's no guarantee, but there's a likely chance that happens. But so the Rams, they end up tying it, and then they end up getting the field goal, which makes it 20-17. The Niners are on offense. They got a couple minutes left. They just have to, or a little over a minute left, actually, I believe. But they just have to get into field goal range. They just have to tie it up. And I was like, okay, I have faith in Jimmy. Because Jimmy actually played his best game in the postseason. Jimmy actually played his heart out. He played really well. Like, despite a lot of mistakes that he made, he also played his heart out. He played his best postseason game. He played his best game since the last time he was in LA, Week 18. He played his best postseason game. But unfortunately, now in life, when you make a mistake, you learn from it. So my main concern with Jimmy is, of course, I do expect Jimmy to be on another team. I expect him to either go to the Pittsburgh Steelers with Big Ben retiring. I think he would fit well there. Or of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady retiring. And possibly the Broncos, who are in need of a quarterback, or even the Washington Commanders, the newly named Washington Commanders. There's a rumor he might go there. Like, I really hope that Jimmy is able to find a starting job on another team, because he's a great person. Nothing but respect for him as a person. He's a great guy, and he's a good quarterback, but he's average. I think like he plays slightly above average at times, and he a lot of times plays below average. But in life, when you make a mistake, because I have made plenty of mistakes, and whenever I make a mistake, I try to learn from it. But Jimmy did not learn from his mistake. He threw a touchdown. He threw an interception Week 18, the wild card round of the playoffs in Dallas, and in Green Bay, in that pick in Green Bay, he's being pressured. He could have just ran it away. He could have thrown it away, but instead he throws it, just the pass just down the field, and it gets picked off. Now Jimmy, he should have just taken the sack. Now, of course, the Niners may not have even won this game because it was third down. It would have been like it was third and long, but they would have just had another chance, man. It would have been fourth and long, but they could have had a chance. But then Jimmy he throws the pick. He throws the pass to Hasty. Hasty catches it, but just it goes out of his hands because he's not expecting it. And then the Rams pick it off and they win the game. But shout out to my friend Steve. It was a great game. And Niners season is over, but next year I'm looking forward to it. Danny G is out. Peace.